All right, welcome to the third review of the evening. Uh, this time is Five Nights at Freddy Into the Pit. Now, thinking about it, I think this might be the first time the. No, it's not the first time Five Nights at Freddy's in general has Gray Star Shores. No, I remember my cousin works with this thing in the VR space.
Hmm.
Like, but we're not talking about that. To be honest, I'm not exactly sure what we're talking about here in terms of like the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, because um, this, this isn't a proper quote unquote Five Nights at Freddy game. At least not not as you knew them. You know, it keeps the style of Five Nights at Freddy, but it moves it into a completely different genre.
It's adjacent in theme, but this is a
Yeah,
mostly 2D adventure game with lots of mini games.
yeah.
Not a first-person survival horror type thing.
Yeah.
Which, frankly, I thought the franchise was a little bit more interesting when it was that. But that's me. Before they added a whole bunch of other stuff, it seems now there are buckets full of lore and stuff, and
Buckets?
it's like
Bro.
they're over explaining stuff that I feel like
Well,
was probably just as well left vague.
I mean, Five Nights at Freddy has run into the same issues as, say, Star Wars. A lot of franchises have done, and that is, they, in order to mine content, not necessarily stories, but just content, we have to explain where every little thing came from. Now, this is how
There
we
are not
get
enough sharks left for them to jump.
Well, to give the example, this is apparently a video game based on a graphic novel based on a short story, or perhaps directly based on the short story, that is in a series of stories that may or that seem to not fit into the main canon of the games exactly. But since some of this involves probably at least partially only mental and not entirely physical time travel, whatever.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, and it's also worth noting that this is being done by a different studio than what does the Five Nights at Freddy games.
Though the creator of those games does have input on it.
That's unfortunate. I'm like, the creator of this franchise.
I believe so, at least. I saw him in the credits, I think. I don't remember
Well,
what it was
here's the
as.
thing. I think he stepped away from the franchise for various reasons. It's also he is not a good person.
Right.
No.
That is one of many reasons. Well, one of at least a handful of reasons why I have not really ever engaged in this series before.
Yeah.
The other one is that I'm not a big fan of jump scare type horror.
Like I said, the only reason we're being arsed with this is because we know the studio behind the game.
Mm-hmm.
We've had them on the program a few times, and they sent the review offer. Like, I'll be honest, I don't think any of us have a very firm grasp on Five Nights at Freddy lore. But
Used to watch some of the lore videos on Game Theorist.
See, that's the thing. I thought I found it more fun when there was all kinds of dumb speculation before it was all like fucking confirmed.
Well,
Mhm.
yeah, the speculation is oftentimes the most fun part because what you build in your mind um, isn't isn't necessarily going to connect to what actually gets built.
Nowadays, everybody knows who the purple guy is well enough that that apparently AI can take a thing where the chat calls a person purple and and summarize that as the chat speculating about them having killed children and being named William Afton.
I hate that.
Yeah, yeah. Like, and in keeping with the not quite Chuck E. Cheese Showtime Pizza theming, the pit that you are into is, of course, a ball pit, which is terrifying enough in reality. Probably more so because at least you won't be able to, you can't get an infectious disease with this.
We don't know that yet.
I mean,
Um,
well, yeah, we haven't quite ascertained if brainworms is an infectious disease.
I mean, if it was, it would explain a lot of things, but that's beyond the scope of this review anyway. Am I
Anyway,
wrong?
that's what I was getting at.
But it's
Yeah,
not just a ball pit. It may be powered by the congealed anguish of all of the people who were murdered in the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza franchise.
all right, Rusty Venture.
I'm not kidding. Apparently,
I
that's part of the
know,
fucking lore.
I know you're not.
So yeah.
Just
Anyway,
I'm just saying the Venture brothers did it and probably did it better.
so yeah. I was not able to, because of my low tolerance for jump scare type horror and all that general stress stuff. I just never get any endorphins out of it, so it's just building stress. I was not able to play this game long enough to get past like the first night. I don't even know if I was all the way through the first night. But you're playing as a kid named Oswald who goes to It's Jeff's Pizza because, the franchise has been fucking shut down. I believe this takes place in approximately the present day. It's a shitty rundown pizza place. So when his dad comes to pick him up, he is upset and goes to hide in the ball pit that he heard rumors of still being there. Comes out in '85 when there was still it was still an active place, meets some kids, and then apparently in the other versions of the story this repeats for a few days, but because it's a game they get to the point, and after playing a couple of games with one of the animatronics kills a bunch of kids and you have to run away from it and get back into the future. And then when you get back into the future, your dad is there, and after you come out of the ball pit, he goes to look in, and the animatronic, which is the yellow rabbit one, which may or may not be called Spring Bonnie, apparently. Anyway, they get in a fight, and at the end, you pull out what you think is your dad, but actually it's the rabbit in control, and visually it sometimes shifts back and forth, which apparently in the books there's some kind of hologram thing that explains how this might work. But anyway, you have to do adventure game stuff. Inter So getting items that you need to do things, intermixed with occasional survival running things, and so the jump scares are kind of telegraphed in this generally, because when it stops being a side view thing and goes into being a first view, that's what it's for. And also because I don't like that kind of thing, the game recommends lighting the screen so that you can only barely see certain things, so that the certain things are dark, and also recommends playing with a headset. I said fuck that. I played with keyboard because that was all it had input things for in game. That's all it said, but it is apparently Xbox controller at least compatible and will be on consoles soon if it isn't yet. That's probably a better way of doing it because there's not much super complicated to do with keyboard stuff, and I didn't run well with WASD, so also you start with 2 difficulty levels. One is a balanced experience and one is a narrative experience. And then apparently after you beat the game or something, you can unlock Nightmare Mode, which is hard. There are also at least 3, might be 4 different endings that are ranked based on how well things turn out. So yeah, overall, yeah, it's a horror themed adventure game with occasional actual like survival horror, running and hiding from things, incidents. Although a lot of it is just scary and tense, and you don't always have to be running, I guess. Yeah. And then there are lots of mini games, and doing well on some of the mini games apparently is part of getting better endings in some cases, in addition to like finding hidden objects and stuff, as is about standard for adventure games. Personally, I did not enjoy this game much at all. However, objectively, I think this is probably a pretty good game. The art style is pleasant. While I did not enjoy them much, the scare screens are well animated and tense. At least on the mode I was playing on, the like holding buttons to hold your breath or making sure you are quiet and still and stuff were fairly natural, even on keyboard. So yeah, the biggest issues I had with it are just that I don't know the lore of this thing, and I could tell that a lot of stuff was being referenced, and that I don't like being being suddenly scared, and I can only handle so much of the building tension stuff. So yeah, if you don't like that kind of thing, you know who you are. But if you do like jump scare horror stuff, and can handle pixel animation, because I know some people are allergic to stuff where they can count the pixels or whatever. I honestly think this is probably a pretty high quality product. I did also see the price. I believe, Adam, am I correct that this is going for $20?
Yes.
So yeah, it might even just be worth that. If not, a shallow sale would probably make it worth it, is my general thing. Unless you're the kind of person like me who really doesn't want it at all.
Okay, then.
So that's I understand that's kind of a mixed message, but that's about what that's where I think I come down on it. Do you guys have any questions or anything, or
no
disagreement or anything?
No.
Okay.
All right, I think that'll about do it for Five Nights at Freddy Into the Pit. Be sure to tune in after the break as we review Solo.